Thank you, Evie. It's great to see everybody here. Very right. Like Evie said, I'm with the city. I am the grant writer, strategic programs manager. I just joined the city back in February, and right before that started these really cool projects. So, just here to kind of speak to the city's role in this. So, as y'all can see on this timeline, this has been a 3-year process. In 2022, we were selected as one of just 64 communities and the only one in Louisiana to participate in the Thriving Communities program through the U.S. Department of Transportation. In 2023, we conducted a walk audit, T4A, focused on pedestrian safety, and then we also traveled to the headquarters in Washington, D.C. for the first ever TCP convening. In 2024, we were actually rewarded the $90,000 grant for the 2 street murals. And we also traveled again to DC for the second convening, and then we have been participating in monthly calls since then. And we also released the arts call in 2024 as well. I believe it was late that year, and Ronnie, you can verify that.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick turnaround time. We did not waste time.
it was a very quick turnaround time. And then in 2025, we continued the monthly calls, and then painting began in April, and we completed the project in May, which I think, Jay, was roughly, just a little over a month or so?
Yep.
Right at a month? Just kind of around there? Yeah. And just to kind of talk about the locations that we chose. So this program really emphasized pedestrian safety, and we wanted to choose locations where people frequently gather. So if y'all know, specifically at the zoo, it is right off of Bernstein Park Drive. And the way that street is angled, people would really just kind of go pretty fast off the road down into the zoo parking lot. So we wanted to help create, something to catch people's eyes that would help them naturally reduce their speed. So that is why this area was chosen. And the same for downtown. It's just another place where people gather. So I don't want to take too much away from Jay. I just wanted to talk about the city's participation in this. Jay, the city appreciates you and thanks you for your hard work and dedication to bringing these to life for us. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I keep doing it too.
Holler.
Yes. Jay is here again to give a talk tonight about this mural. This is the second time he's done a talk at the museum. A few years ago, I was trying to remember the date, but I slept since then, I don't know. But a few years ago, Jay was here to talk about his over a decade of work that he did for Walt Disney as a lead animator for their movies, and working out of Burbank, California. And like I said, for over a decade, Jay worked in this position. And that was a really interesting talk, so I know we're in for a good time tonight. During this time, he lived and worked around the world, including London, England, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Austin, Texas. And since returning to Monroe and working as a full-time artist, Jay has been very busy. I have a few notes here on just some things he has done since he's been the last few years. In 2021, he painted another mural for the zoo, which is a cut metal at the front entrance of the zoo, front of the zoo, entitled Crawfish Dinner. He also designed the Louisiana Iris mural that is on Art Alley that I'm sure many of y'all have seen. It's on the Baker Building. Speaking of the Baker Building, if you go inside that building, you can find the J. Davis Gallery. We have a lot of information about his gallery, his business cards, and some information about the J and the gallery itself on the table in the back, which has refreshments on it. I hope y'all saw that with some waters and Cokes and Sprites and things. And his gallery is beautiful. Y'all should definitely go visit it. His painting, The Best Is Yet to Come, is featured in the bedrooms of the newly opened Hotel Monroe, which is in downtown. And he also has a linocut print in the permanent collection of the National Museum of Art, which is actually hanging in my office. I didn't know if you knew that. So thank you for that. Jay is extremely accomplished, and we are so happy to have him working in such an integral way as a leader in the arts community in Monroe. And we're very happy to have him here and do all the wonderful things he is doing for our community, working in the arts. I won't take too much more of your time. Please help me welcome Jay Davis.
Thank you, Evie. That was a great introduction. It was better than the last one, that was awesome too. And thank you all for coming. We had a packed house. This is great. I hope I don't screw it up. I just want to explain the process of this mural. I saw the call that had gone out with the Arts Council that put the call out, and I decided to do it at the last minute. I think I just finished with the Hotel Monroe painting, and we were fixing the gallery up and moving into the new studio space. I think that's what it was, Jill. Remember? And it was at the last minute. I think I spent maybe 3 days, putting together a proposal for the zoo and also for the one downtown. And I'd be happy with either one, but I was really happy I got the zoo one. That because I had the other mural, crawfish dinner, that I'm going to talk a little bit about in a minute. But what I did was, I'm just going to talk about the process. This will be hopefully interesting for artists and not artists. All I did, this was literally just the aerial view that came with the artist call, and I just cut and pasted the zoo colors up there. There was the zoo branding colors, and I had the idea for an albino alligator, because that's something that is unique to our zoo here. We have 5 now.
We're at 6 or 7 now.
Hmm?
We're at 6 or 7 now.
Up to 7?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, fantastic. They're multiplying as we speak. Who knows how many there'll be, next week. But they've got a new habitat there. It's the Louisiana purchase. I think in August it will be a whole year behind schedule, but it's going to be so amazing. It's got albino alligators and then regular alligators and beavers and loggerhead snapping turtles. It's pretty amazing and special to have that kind of thing in a town our size. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, that's the reason that I picked the albino alligator, and he's blue because of the zoo colors. So albino alligators are white and pink. I know that. Here we go. All right. So I'm just going to go through some slides I put together. There we go. That was before I had gone out there and looked at it. I thought, oh, you know what? Let's make it bigger. It's 4,800 square feet. And it really didn't even click how big that was, but I figured, why not make the whole plaza? But I went out there, and this is all a gravelly surface. It wouldn't work, but anyway, just out of curiosity, this is my first attempt at it. And then this is a little different. It's got the grass up there and ripples. There we go. I just put this together on my iPad. This is part of the proposal that I've done. And it's kind of close to the way it ended up. It's kind of neat. Then after it was approved, I got I was awarded the thing. Then I had to spend some time. There were some committee notes, so I was addressing those notes. And then that was approved. And then I had, then we met. We met with the paint rep. And that's when I got to know what the material was going to be. It's street bond. It's an epoxy. It's an acrylic paint. It's water-based, thank goodness. But it's an epoxy paint that is super durable. All right, let's jump ahead. I'm going to come back to that. This is the other mural that I painted up there. This is Crawfish Dinner. We can maybe turn those lights out. It's just a little bit lower. We can turn them back on in a minute. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, is it better? Look at that, it's so vibrant. I painted this one in the Civic Center. This is the one that it's James Machine Works. They cut out. This is out of cut metal, and I painted this in the Civic Center, and they moved it to the zoo after I painted it. So I don't like to be out in the heat, and so I don't know why. Anyway, this whole thing doesn't make sense, but I'm showing you this to show you sort of my process. This is a scale. This is a 1-inch scale. 1 inch equals a foot. This is 17.5 feet across. but I like to do a practical painting so I can see what the colors are. And rather than, you know, if you do digital, it's hard to know what that color is going to look like, the light hitting it, and that's why I like to do practical. And I can kind of, you know, it's easier for me to figure things out doing it that way. So that's why I brought this thing. That's an oil painting, and then the actual painting is acrylic at the zoo. What's next? Okay, so this is the process. This is the painting I did for the zoo. And I'm just showing you this because I took a progress pic at some point, and while I was thinking about it, while I was painting, I was thinking about how I was going to paint it on the pavement. You know, what are the steps needed to do that? Because it was so big. And here we go. So this is that painting superimposed, you know, onto the map there. So that's the painting. And it looks a lot like the way the mural ended up looking, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Next. All right. The projector. Okay. Right. So. After we had met, we had 2 weeks to finalize the design. That's it. I'm trying to get back on track. Got a lot of things in my head. We had 2 weeks to develop the design because that was, you know, obviously it was a sketch and loose, and it was more painterly. And then we had a couple of weeks to refine the design and get our colors. We had a limit of 10 colors that we could use. I don't know if that was a paint manufacturer or just it was a limitation put on us. That was just the rule. So 10 colors, and what I ended up doing. Let's go and turn the lights back on. And just, there you go. Thanks, Light. Thank you. What I ended up doing between the original, which was really, you saw it. It was 4 colors, and it was sketchy. It was sort of painterly. When I started to refine it, I started to think about what it needed to be, what the final product was going to be, and what it needed to be. And I wanted it to be a specimen, like the animals in the zoo. You know, we're specimens, and we go there to look at them. And so I wanted this to be a cleaner design. So I took out the ripples, and I took out I made a clean silhouette. I took out any overlapping that was originally in the concept sketch, and I made the alligator completely submerged instead of having part of it above water, just to make it just to simplify and make it a stronger image. And then I also adjusted the colors. What I did was I compressed things and made it simpler. I ended up with just using 9 colors instead of 10. And there's 3 color zones. I pushed the contrast and the saturation, you know, the difference in saturation. So there's the dark value of the background. I made that even darker, and the reason I did that is that I got this great teal color. It was, when we met with Street Bond, the name of the product was Street Bond, but this is this lovely teal that somebody had already, if we can pass these around, I brought a few samples just so you can kind of feel what this stuff feels like. It's got an aggregate in it. Anyway, that lovely teal, and that's where I started. So I had the teal, and I had that light blue of the color, you know, the zoo branding, and then I actually had some leftover paint from this mural, some the neutral greens, and that's what I used to paint the lily pads. So it's literally the paint left over from years before. It was still wet, and I painted the lily pads and this yellow is actually one of the Street Bond stock colors, this safety yellow. It's what they paint curves with. But it looks, you know, in this context, it's kind of nice. It's an accent. So I had these sort of neutral greens, these color zones. So there's the lily pads, there's the dark background, and then there's the lighter alligator, and then these pops of color, and that's where I put the pink. So there you go. That was the thought behind it. All right. Then we can go back to the light being off. Brett, will you turn? No. There we go. Thank you. After we made those selections, luckily I had a month and a half to think about it and to plan. And I needed all that time to plan. And it was, how was I going to do it? How was I going to get this image onto that big space? And how was I, to get it accurate, but also how was I physically going to paint it? I didn't know if I was going to lean over on a rolling chair and just paint like that, or if I was looking at knee pads that roofers have. And I'll be 60 next year, so I was thinking, oh my God, there's no way I could do any of that. So I was thinking, and I was worrying. For a month and a half, I worried. And thought. And how am I going to do it? I need people to help me. Anyway. And there's different ways. What this is, that's a grid. And what I had done to make that mural, the crawfish dinner, it was smaller. It's 17 and a half feet across. I used a 1 foot by 1 foot grid to kind of transfer, a line drawing, and I also used a projector to get some of the detail in the bird feathers. But you can't use that method for this. I was planning on doing a grid, and I was going to use chalk lines. But then I was thinking, how am I going to get it all square? That was going to be a nightmare. All these things that were going through my mind. But this is the calculations for the amount, like square footages for colors. That's what that is. That's what you're looking at. Yeah, and I was figuring out the square footage of all the lily pads and subtracting out the little divot. Counting. Yeah, it was a lot of thinking that went on. But it's just a matter of, just to let you know, that one this is 27 feet across, so that's only 17 feet across. So it doesn't. There's like a scale. Was also I didn't know how I was going to do it. Anyway, it all worked out. I solved all the problems. I'm going to tell you how I did it.
Jay, you have completely blown my theory that artists are not mathematicians.
Well, I went to school for architecture, so all that helped. In fact, I was.
I'm astonished.
These lily pads, I used the circle template that I used at LSU when I was in architecture school back in the 80s. So it's never throw anything away. This is the product, and this also is the reason why I ended up kind of looking this way. It couldn't be painterly. Street Bond, that is a 5-gallon bucket. The big one there, that's part A. It's got the sand in the bottom, which some artists like to mix things into their paint. But this one is actually okay because it's outside and it serves a purpose. But this is a concrete mixer, and this is part B. So that's part B of the epoxy. So they mix together, and then they start to react, and you have 24 hours to use that bucket. Yeah, so it's not like I could mix it up and then use it later.
Water-based epoxy.
It's a water-based epoxy. Yes. And this is the color. So there's 3 things, and then you mix them all together with a concrete mixer on a drill. For 5 minutes, you put the water in there, and there you go. You got some Street Bond. I looked it up. I think they weigh 66 pounds, that was another thing. Like, how am I going to even move things around? Because I don't work out. I'm out of shape. I was worried about that. I got some carts to move things around. Here we go. That's a cart. They sell these at Home Depot, and they're great. We were able to move those around. Here we go. And that's all the paint. That was over at the Ike Hamilton. No, Ike.
It was at the it was at the yeah.
Convention Center.
Yeah.
Yes, it was at the Convention Center. So I'd go and pick it up there. But there were, I think, 48 total. Ended up with 48 total kits of that stuff. And I'd go and pick that stuff up. But there you go. That's that stuff. I think that's it. Let's go back. All right. All right, now. Oh, some other things I was thinking about. How, people. I was going to need people. I contacted, because I knew I couldn't do it all myself, and especially in that time frame. Some other things. Can you turn the lights back on? Sorry. Right, I should have hired a light person. Other things. I made some tools for us to use. This thing is a compass that I made. That's how we did the lily pads. And it's got a nail in one end, and it's got a paintbrush on the other end. And then it's got this Velcro. The cool thing is, you just draw it. $30. $30. And then while I was doing that, I figured out how I was going to paint it. Because while I was doing that, actually I drew a lily pad on the floor of the studio. And while I was doing that, I was like, you know what? This works just fine. I could just sew a bucket and then paint like that, and I don't have to bend over or get on my knees at all. It's fine. It worked great.
Jay, you should have mentioned this to Ashley and Daniel. They were just laying on skateboards.
I saw them out there, and I thought, they're much younger. They're much younger than me. I also figured out how I was going to. During that time that I was worrying and thinking about things, I discovered the doodle grid system. It sounds dumb. It's doodle grid, and you can look it up. There's videos on it. There was also an option to do it like an Oculus, where you mixed reality, where you can you wear a VR headset and you can see the design. I think that's what Daniel actually used to transfer theirs. There's some slippage when you do that, so it's not going to be. You can run into, especially with something as large as this, I wouldn't be able to do the whole thing. So I decided to go and get a drone and then do a doodle grid method. And what the doodle grid does is you don't have to worry about making a grid of. I can just start talking about, start showing some of this doodle grid. I'll talk about that in a second. Here we go. So we got the paint. I think I asked 3 people to help. And I got 3 kind of maybe, yes. Except I got one that was an enthusiast, it was Cassie. Thank goodness, Cassie's here. Yeah. And I could not have done it without Cassie's help in that time frame. She was there, and she had 2 other jobs. 2 other jobs. So, and she was there just about every day, helping me. So it was wonderful. And then like toward the end, we'd start at 5:30 in the morning because it was too hot, and then she'd have to leave at 9 in the morning to go to her other job. And I was like, all right, but which was great. It was 3.5 hours. We got it, and we got it done. So I'm telling you how we got it done. This is it. All right, so this is the first day. Oh, God. Oh, we taped it off first with this wide masking tape. Went all the way around. First, the city had, thank you, the city had power washed it. And and then we put this tape down. It's that is the extra wide roll of duct tape. We went all the way around with it, and then that is Patriot Blue, which is not in the mural, but it's a cheaper color. And we're going to put. That was another thing I've done is planned like a painting schedule, and I had this great plan of covering the whole thing with this Patriot Blue as a membrane that was really adhered to the asphalt, and then I was going to paint on top of that the alligator footprint, and then I was going to put on the other things, the other elements on there, because you need 4 layers of this stuff painted on for it to be really durable and last. And I watched all the videos of the manufacturer about how to do it, and we followed the directions. And so here it is, blank. That's me right there. That's me. That makes me ill to look at it, and especially when you zoom in and when I try to hold how big it is in my head, and I would see how zooming on me. If I did that, my stomach. I don't know if you that feeling, like on a roller coaster, you can feel like that just from the picture. But there it is. All right, look, that's 2 buckets, 2 kits. Only did that much. And I thought, oh God, we got 7 buckets, and we mixed them all. And that's as far as we got. And I was worried. Okay, yeah, that's why that looks the way it does. So I knew we were going to finish, so we just had to strategize, and that's from here on. The plan went out the window, and we had to try different things. So this is all those that was supposed to cover the whole area only covered this much. So we went all the way around the perimeter because I wanted to get a good seal on the edges and then go over the cracks. So that's why it looks the way it does. It was strategic thought that went into why it looks like that. But so that was worrisome, and plus we only when the paint came in, I only had 2 colors. I had Patriot Blue and yellow, because the other colors were custom colors. White hadn't come in. I don't know why. I actually borrowed some white from Daniel and Ashley and paid them back later than when I got my white. But this is the dual grid. Okay, so I had a bucket of a sample that Streetmont had given us to try out and to see how we liked it, see how the material worked. And I saved that bucket, and we used that. Cassie and I, we had our brushes, and we just made this grid with just a bunch of nonsense on there. Just, circles, shapes, letters. It's just a bunch of stuff. And what we did with that, I took it, and also during that time when I was worrying, I had done a line drawing of this. I traced over every color. And I did a white line drawing around all the color shapes, within the alligator. So it's kind of hard to see there because it's pixelated. But trust me, it's a line drawing of the whole thing, really small lines. And here it is. Here's a printout of it. What I did, I took that and took it over to Lokta, Josh over at Lokta in West Monroe, and got these printed out on this durable paper. So they're superimposed. So what we have is a map now of how we can draw the whole thing out and keep it one-to-one. So it's like a grid. So this is for the alligator. But see where the doodle grid is back here, and we can see, all right, this line will touch this part of the X, and it'll come around here, and thank you. There we go. And then there's a star right here on the doodle grid. Then we come around here and then just trace around. So you're looking at it and using just this nonsense as a grid. It's like a grid system, only it's better. Because if you have a grid, then you can get lost in a grid. It's all the same. It's all squares. This is genius. Whoever figured this out. But it couldn't be done without a drone. And I had to get a drone and learn how to fly it in that month and a half too. So that was cool. So now I have a drone and I have that technology. And so this is for the whole thing, and it turns out I didn't even need to know the diameters or the radii of the lily pads, because it's on the doodle grid. You just find the center, and then you find one of the outer edges, and then open up the compass, and there it is. And you can, so it worked really quickly. So that's how we were able to get it done as quickly as we did. Is all that pre-planning and
Worrying.
huh?
Worrying.
Worrying, yeah, worrying. You gotta worry about it. Okay.
Math.
So there it is, and these are really these are durable. And what we did was had binder clips. We just folded it up so that you're just looking at one little area so you get lost in it. And actually, there was a lot of wind. That was unexpected. There were a lot of things that were unexpected. And why I don't like painting outside: wind, bull gnats that I'm allergic to. Now I know. And heat, rain. It was all kinds of things that we had to deal with. Okay, so I can turn the light up again. Thank you. All right. We're going to have an epileptic fits. Okay, so here we go. This is, so that's not the doodle, but that is, so this is, that is this thing, the map. Oh, and some lag. There you go. So that's the map that I had printed out, and this is what we drew. So Cassie and I, we each had a little 2-inch brush on a pole, and with a map. And we're just looking at it and drawing it. And that's what we did with the whole thing until we had the whole alligator drawn. It was, and it worked out pretty well. Except for those flowers. Now those flowers, we kind of ran out of paint. Not on the flowers, but because there was exposed asphalt there, we concentrated the doodle grid along the alligator, but then there were these big expanses of we're going to have to figure something else out as far as getting it covered. So we went ahead and filled the whole thing up. And actually, it was good. Cassie said, "Hey, we should go ahead and finish the whole, just in case." I said, "Yeah, all right, that might save us." Sure enough, it did. So we were able to move forward. And that was the whole thing: just keep moving forward and making, even though we didn't have the colors, we could just keep going. So.
Wait, go ahead and finish what, the gator?
No, finish the doodle grid. Put these other spots in here, even though the whole thing wasn't. So I was thinking, well, they're going to have to order some more paint. We don't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. We needed more paint. We'd actually followed the manufacturer's guidelines as far as applying. It was dumping it out and then taking a squeegee and squeegeeing it and then brushing it in. So it's in there. It's in there good. It's solid. It's never going away. But finishing the doodle grid and just having those little spots in there. But the problem was in some of these areas, the flowers are detailed. There wasn't really a doodle grid enough there to draw the flowers and get the detail. I was just kind of just drawing them. A 4-foot flower, it's hard to get it and make it look nice. And it ended up kind of looking cartoony and just kind of phoned in. So those stayed like that for a while, and those bothered me, and I worried about it for a long time. I'll tell you how I'll fix them later. All right, here we go. So we had yellow, which was great, and we didn't have any other colors. So I decided we should just go ahead and draw in all of the lily pads, because that is a hard part. That's trying to figure stuff out or drawing. Being careful with stuff, that takes the most time. Let's go ahead and get that done. We got them all drawn in and then colored the ones that were supposed to be yellow in the painting. So that's what that is. That's the yellow. And then what happened? Oh, here's a closer view of it. And you can see the doodle grid, the white drawing, and the other lily pads, and those awful flowers. There we go. There's me. That's how big it is, and how this is. So for a while, it kind of looked like a mess, but kind of a cool mess. I was liking how it was looking. I knew what it needed to look like, but I really liked this. I liked how messy it was, and sort of all the information that was in there. I took this picture just to show the problem with the drainage, because this would get filled up with water a lot, but I'm showing it just so you can see what it looked like from a street view. I don't know what the zoo's going to do about the water problem there, but they need more drainage. Okay, so here we go. Now this is, I think this is when Cassie, you were in, with the master, you were in Colorado. So I got to do the flowers, and what I did, I started, and I outlined the alligator in the blue. So we got the custom colors in. I was excited about that. So I did the outline, and then I started working on these flowers. What I did, I made a doodle grid of each flower, and I numbered them. There's 9 of them. This is the 9th one. But I was using the white of the, jacked up flower. I was using that as a doodle grid. So it was like, okay, this is the orange is what I want, and then the white is what I don't want. So I was able to use that as a guide, and that went pretty well. Thank you, Brett.
You need a light off here?
Yeah, thank you. Oh yes.
Oh.
All right, yeah, there's what it looks like. You can kind of see the white peeking out, so it's not looking that great, right now, but it starts looking better. This is more of the blue. It takes a long time just to paint, between, get around and paint in between all that stuff. It took a while, and most of it is being painted with these 4-inch brushes. We tried using a roller. Like that first day, we tried using a roller, and it got clumpy, and it was weird. And I bought so much stuff from Home Depot, and I returned so much stuff. Also, a lot of rollers. But rollers wouldn't work anyway, because there's so many curves, so many rounded curves that it was fine working with that, except that my hands really started to hurt. I never got carpal tunnel, working at Disney, but I think I started to get it working on this thing. There we go. That's a street view of where we are at this point. We started putting in these colors, the greens. You can still see the doodle grid poking out, and you can see the white first flower, and then you can see the pink. Correction. Now the pink, I only had 1 bucket of pink, and I couldn't do it in one pop, so I had to split that pink, and I had to figure out how to do it. And what I did was mixed the colorant with the part A, the big bucket, and then took half of that, and then took half of the part B, and so I just had half of it saved away for later on. And I mixed that up later. Here we go. Well, I think those were out of order. So this one, you can see that we've started putting in the greens, and then now we got some more Patriot blue in. Got 7 more buckets of it. 5 more buckets, and you can see that now we're outlining the alligator and outlining those flowers, so they're starting to take on that right shape. Yeah, here we go. So there you can see the flowers starting to get a little bit more shape. All right, and this is when we started to add the teal, that beautiful teal color in the background. It's a lot more saturated. The Patriot blue, it almost looks black by comparison, but the teal is much more saturated, and it gives it that look. It looks different from ground level than it does from the top end. It's a lot more pastel looking on ground level. Like this looks, I don't know, it looks a lot different. I think it's because of what you're able to see all at one time, being far away from it. Here we go. So now we're starting to put in the highlights on alligator scales. And then we came back with some mid-tones, and I really started working with the head. And strategically, I wanted to keep one bucket of each color just in case we had tracking. And there was some tracking. We got it all taken care of. One of the most annoying tracks that I did, I was painting one of the midtones, and I stepped on one of the scales that was white. Oh. And it had it was my shoe print right there on it. And I was like, God, I'm gonna have to mix up a whole bucket of white just to fix this. So I went back and I had a little bit of white from like 3 days ago, because the zoo, they were great. The crew of the zoo and Philip Crowley over there they were great and supportive. But I had a little bit of paint left, because they were going to use the buckets for the zoo stuff. But there's a little bit of paint from 3 days ago. It was still wet, still usable. This whole time. Could have been saving it. So they say, I don't know, maybe it's to cover their butts. But you can use street lawn a little later too. Anyway, I was so happy when I was able to do that. All right, there you go. So this is it. That was the finished one, and here we are. You see this guy over here, and you see this guy over here, and they work together. And now what we need is a big archway or some kind of entrance there. So that's really the thing that's missing right there. Talked to Friday about it, and I'm really hoping that this is going to just remain a pedestrian area, because it would be such a nice plaza for people, the community to gather and do whatever. Just have a place like that in Monroe. Besides downtown. All right, I think I've got some videos. We weren't able to play them on here, but I've got them on my iPad. I don't know if you can see this. This is Cassie painting. There she's painting. I've got one of me painting also. I'll show you. Right? So we got our bucket. The bucket. Oh yeah, the hat. And there it is. That's for the end. I wish we were so busy painting that I didn't get any good video of us working until the end when I started thinking about it. Oh, here I am. I wore a sombrero. The zoo gave me a sombrero because I didn't have a hat. That was another thing. A lot of sunscreen, and there you go. That's it.
How long did it take for it to dry?
It dried really quickly. It was. While you're working on it, you can see it, especially with the sun coming down. It would be dry. The thing is, you didn't want to walk on it yet because it hadn't cured underneath. If you were to walk on it, if it looks dry, and that's how I ended up tracking things. Is walking on it, and then it sticks to your foot because it's underneath the film, it's still a little wet down there. But
It's 24 hours.
Hmm?
They needed 24 hours to cure.
Yeah, to cure it, but you could still walk. It could look dry, but even just a few hours, it would be okay to walk on. But so we could, like that Patriot Blue. We mixed all 7 buckets, which I think that took 5 minutes each. So that's 35 minutes of just mixing. Risk it. But anyway, you don't want to stop and start painting. And then have to do a bucket and then have to go mix it again. So you mix it all in the beginning. And that was a lot of, I would go home at night after we had painted, and I would think, what are we going to do tomorrow? What is the next color? What's the next strategy? And my strategy, at some point, it was get the background, get everything done, one level of everything, and then do the final background of the teal, and then start putting the layers on everything else. And then save a bucket of teal in case we tracked on it, because I didn't want any tracks on the teal part. So that was the strategy. I think that's it. Yes, Boyd.
Jay,
Yes.
when you talk to Friday, see if you can talk him into getting rid of the gravel and putting the hardscape over there. That first rendering you did of the two alligators was stunning.
Oh.
Just stunning. I love this. And I understand that this is the largest street painting in the state of Louisiana, is that right?
No, thank you, Floyd, for bringing that up. Thank you. It was, except Daniel and Ashley screwed up and made theirs a little bit longer. Theirs is bigger. Kidding about them screwing up. But it actually did get longer. I think theirs is 6,000, but mine is the longest alligator.
Yeah.
It's 149 feet.
Number two, when they introduced you, I was so proud of you. When I watch PBS a lot. I like their mysteries and their sense of humor. But there's a show on PBS called Art Rocks. And you were featured on Art Rocks. You brought Monroe into the state limelight. Now, I'm very familiar with this artist that made a worldwide reputation off of their blue dog. You can make a reputation off of your blue alligator.
No, this is
You can pay me later, Jay.
Can I ask any questions, other questions, or if anyone wants to heap praise on me?
Yeah, the painting process from beginning to end took how long? I don't even want to know about the thinking and worrying process, but the painting process itself took
The painting, it took a little over a month. I think we started, April 8th? No.
It was around April 8th. And then
Around April 8th.
we finished up Memorial Day.
Yeah, and I finished up, I thought it was the deadline was the 23rd, I think, but I finished up, we actually finished a little bit before that. So I was excited about that. Oh, and the last thing to do, once it was all done, it's sealed. It's sealed with it's a UV protectant, but it's also like a semi-gloss. That's why it looks the way it does, and it should keep it from. It makes it easier to clean. Like if there's oil on it, you can spray it with a power washer, and it won't seep in and stain it. It'll keep it from getting
So
stained.
that was my next question. What about maintenance? Like what about 10 years from now?
I don't know. It should stay there, and it shouldn't be a problem. It should.
Do they project an amount of time?
Yeah, so if it's like on a normal street that it gets like really heavy traffic, like if we did this on like a Desire to Louisville, maybe 5 years, but since this is such low pedestrian, or this is mostly pedestrian and such low traffic, 15 to 20 to like truly see like.
Well, one would hope that the zoo would get that much traffic.
I don't know if he can do that.
That's what we hope.
I don't think they can go 60 miles an hour.
One kid, well, I don't know, kid. One day, Cassie and I showed up, and there was some tracks on it, and it was a bicycle. Somebody had ridden their bike, gone between the thing, and we painted over it. It's fine. It's fine.
You have to expect that. That's like. You have to expect that. That's like.
Well, now it's sealed. We can clean it if we need to.
So go for it.
Did you have a question?
I was going to heap praise, but I decided not. Can it be resealed? Can it be resealed in 5 years?
I don't know.
Professionally?
Yeah, it can? Okay, yeah. Ollie's saying it can. Yes, good. Excellent, yeah. So I noticed the one at Art Alley, because my gallery and studio is right over there, on our Art Alley. I can see it every day. Daniel and Ashley saying it's holding up well with cars going over it. So it's looking good. It's exciting.
Any more questions for Jay? All right, well, like I said, we have information, his business cards and information about his gallery on the little table in the foyer just back by that doorway there.
Thank you all for coming.